Well, hey, it's Rob. Diego's over there too. And got a few minutes before work. Feeling a little introspective. My birthday is not today, but next week I'll be 59 years old. Maybe I should have made this video when I was 60 and waited, but hey, I was around for 9 months before I was born, so, for all intents and purposes, I'm turning 60 or thereabouts. Anyway, so just thought I would jump on and talk about where I've been, the things I've done. I don't know that this will be of interest to a whole lot of people out there, but maybe there'll be something in here you will relate to. So like I said, be 59. I was born in 1966 in the city of Detroit. We moved to the suburbs when I was about 3. Oak Park, Michigan was the place where I grew up. Kind of a lower middle class suburb. We grew up in a, small 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, I guess, because my parents lived there too. 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. And, had a basement. That's about it. It's kind of a big square gray block. But, boy, to this day, I miss that house. Anyway, I had a very nice childhood. It was well taken care of. My dad is an attorney. My mom worked at different times, and, we were doing just fine and always had. So we were well looked after. Oak Park had some very good schools, public schools, of course, but within walking distance. So, I was able to walk, at least when I got a little older, to elementary school. Middle school was right next door to that. And even high school was not too far. I walked a few times. I think, I was probably given rides or whatever. It was a little too far to walk every day. But, I did on, of course, many days, I seem to remember. Even in the snowy days that we got in Michigan or whatever, trudging through the snow. Hey, that's how you grew up in the Midwest. Anyway, so I always kind of had a thing for just listening to the radio. Probably around 1978 when I was 12, I started playing guitar and I just started really paying attention to music. And man, that's just kind of what I related to. And started buying 8-track tapes back then, records, and we had a high school radio station, and that was kind of what got me kicked off in the direction of what I've done for most of my career, which is working as a sound engineer. I'm not currently doing it, which is why I'm wearing a polo shirt and about to go off to my regular 9-to-5 or whatever. But, for the most part, I've been involved in music and film, on the audio side. So I got involved in my high school radio station. It was kind of a cool thing for a, quiet, introverted kid like me to hide out in this radio station and not have to be a part of some, sports team or whatever. That was not my thing. I was always kind of, picked on a little bit. I didn't really know how to defend myself or whatever. I had this long black hair. People used to say I was a girl. They would, say I was gay or whatever. I used to hang out with a group of girls. That's just who I related to. At some point I tried to date or did date, most of them. But anyway, that's just who I was comfortable with in middle school and high school. And I hid out in this radio station and I became, the music director. I had to take all the records home and catalog them and listen to these hundreds of records. We'd get free records. It's called servicing. And you would just call a record company and say, we have a high school radio station and we need servicing. They would send you boxes of free records. It was beautiful. I have, I think, most of them still in my basement. Anyway, so got involved in the high school radio station. I eventually became the program director or whatever. And I just really enjoyed it. I mean, did lots of other stuff in high school too, but my main focus started to become, not being a disc jockey, but working with audio equipment and that kind of thing that transferred into my first couple of years of college. I went to Michigan State University. We had a station there called WLFT, which was carrier current. It meant you plugged your radio into the wall and the signal came through the electricity. Anyway, long gone, and now you can of course get everything over the internet. I was involved in the college radio station, but not to the extent I was in high school. And for 2 years I was a no preference major. I just had no idea what I wanted to do. And then I saw an ad in Rolling Stone magazine for the Berklee College of Music, and it kind of lined up with I had done an internship over the summer at a recording studio. I had worked at a outdoor concert facility, Pine Knob. So I had this like perfect summer for me. I was working at a recording studio, and I would go off to Pine Knob and see all these great concerts for free. Worked as an usher, and $3.35 an hour or something or other. But it barely paid for gas probably to get back and forth there. But I didn't mind. It was just right up my alley. Anyway, so I saw Michigan State University. I saw Berklee College of Music when I was still at Michigan State University. Saw an ad for them in Rolling Stone, cut out the little corner of the magazine, and I begged my parents to let me go. We went out there and checked it out, and of course it was much more expensive. It was a private school. I mean, it's $70,000 a year now. I don't think it was anything even equivalent to that back then, but anyway, that's where I started getting my education in audio engineering. Now, of course, I could have just gone and worked at a studio for, free, not gone to college, worked my way up or whatever, but I was expected to do something in college in my life. Of course, I had the goal of getting a bachelor's degree, which I did from Berklee, even though I have a dream every night that I still have one more class to go. I'm 50 years old. I've never finished college. Probably a lot of people have that dream. Anyway, so when I was 1981, we had this summer camp called, we called it Bus Camp, where they drove from Toronto, picked up some kids in Detroit, and we went all the way across the country, all the way out through, St. Louis, Texas, Grand Canyon, Bryce Canyon, all the way, and we landed in LA. And I remember the morning, we were on this bus, and we were driving all night, and we used to sleep out in tents every night. Every once in a while, I think we stayed in a hotel. But anyway, I was on this bus, and the sun was just coming up, and they probably woke us up and said, hey, we're just about to enter California. And I thought, this is the place for me. I don't know why. So anyway, I always had that in the back of my mind. When I graduated from Berklee with a degree in music production and engineering, I already knew I'm driving out to California. That's where I want to go. And I did. In 1989, I drove out there in my 1966 Mustang convertible. Got a terrible sunburn on the way. But made it out there. I started to work at a couple different recording studios, the Record Plant, a pretty famous studio, and then I got a job at a place called Ocean Way. Ocean Way was in Los Angeles. Are we having a flyby? But they had a sister studio called Record One in the San Fernando Valley, which happened to just be around the corner from my apartment, so it was beautiful. They stuck me out there, and it was right at the beginning of Michael Jackson's Dangerous record. So for 2 years, I was the gopher on Michael Jackson's Dangerous recording studios, getting lunch, setting up microphones in the studio, helping Michael out with various things he needed. I've made a lot of videos about that and don't need to go into it. But anyway, at the same time, although, I was on this high profile project and wow, Michael Jackson, doesn't get bigger than that, I wasn't doing anything with my audio engineering training, and I had worked in a couple small studios here and there, but I basically was just the studio runner, the gopher. It was very frustrating for me, and I wanted to get out there and do stuff, and music business is just a tough gig. I did not take a traditional path. Obviously, I could have gone to law school. I could have done lots of other stuff, but just music was my thing. And so I tried for a while, but you really have to not just know audio engineering skills, but you got to be able to hang out with a bunch of people who want to stay up and listen to heavy metal music till 4 o'clock in the morning, or smoke pot, or drink or whatever. It was just a whole scene that I was not particularly comfortable in. And then I discovered that there was a film business, and you could do sound for the film business. Doing sound back then for the film business was very simple. You had a tape recorder. It was called a Nagra, a Swiss recorder. You had a guy who held a microphone up in the air. That was it. There wasn't much to it. So, over the years, of course, it got more complex, and we added more equipment and wireless microphones and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so I happened to get a call. I remember like in 1994, I had been working as a production assistant, which was pretty much what I had been doing for recording studios, but I was doing it for a couple of films. I got fired from Natural Born Killers. Oliver Stone's nephew wanted my job or something. I got knocked out of there. Anyway, and so, I remember sitting around being depressed, and then I got a call from this female sound mixer. She said, you could be my boom operator. I'd never really done it before. It seems like a stupid job holding a microphone up in the air, but I loved it. You were right there on the set with the actors, right in the middle of the action, and there was a lot of skill to it. There's a lot of nuance. There's a lot, that goes into hanging a microphone up in the air and getting it in just the right spot to you pick up a person's voice. Anyway, so I did that for a while, worked as a boom operator, worked as a sound mixer. I ended up taking some detours, and I'm going to speed this up because I'm already running out of time. But, a lot of times in my life, I thought, oh God, like everyone else is achieving so many great things, and they're making all this money, and I've taken this non-traditional path, and what was I thinking? Why didn't I just go, get a normal job or whatever? I ended up working in IT for 7 years. I had a family friend who started a business. I worked as a network technician, did that, was never happy with that. During the course of my time working in IT for 7 years, they said, you can go back to school and take any class and we'll pay for it as long as you get a B average. So in the back of my mind, I had always thought, I'll be a teacher. So for whatever reason, my mom was a teacher, and I just thought it's something I'd be good at. Started taking classes. I took one class for 12 semesters in a row, graduated, got my teaching credential, and then I went back to my IT job for 2 years, and I was miserable, and I was like, again, why do I have all this training and I'm not doing anything with it? So I ended up, getting a job in North Carolina. I was married at the time to my first wife. We wanted kind of a change of pace from Los Angeles, and this job in North Carolina popped up. Moved out there. I started teaching. I taught out there for 6 years, and teaching was a very, very difficult job. Teaching, you're not really, judged on how well you can impart knowledge to students. You're judged on your test scores, and you're judged on how well your kids behave when the principal comes in. And so I had a lot of struggles with that. I was not, like I said, the most threatening figure in the room. And eventually they would just realize they could wear me down. And, so after 6 years, I thought, I'm not getting anywhere with this job at all. So at the time, after doing that, Atlanta really started to pick up. Their film and TV production really took off. I got hired to work for a company that rents and sells sound equipment. I did that for a little while, and then I just ended up going right back to being a freelancer, doing film and TV projects. I worked on The Walking Dead and Stranger Things and lots of corporate video shoots. I worked as a sound engineer, running the equipment. At this time, it's digital equipment, and still working as a microphone boom operator for other sound mixers, and did that for the last 10 years. And it just looks like, the work's, really kind of ramped up. Like during COVID, those were our best years. I made the most money I've ever made in my entire life. And then it started to trail off again, and I realized, I'm going to have to do something else. So I'm working now for a company that buys cars, and I'm sure you've heard of them. You've seen the ads. But anyway, at this point, 59 years old, it's nice just to sit in an office for a while. I don't know what'll happen next, and maybe I'll be there for a while. I hope so. But anyway, that's kind of the rundown of my careers and how I've ended up where I am. I've got to zip out of here because I got to go to work. But, if there's anything to be taken away from this, it's that, we're all kind of on our own journey to compare yourself to someone else and to say, oh, look at this person. They have this, they have that. I'm very thankful for what I have. I have a great wife who is supportive and, looks after kids all day, does a great service to the community. And, we have a very nice house. We never had kids ourselves, so we don't have the financial burden and all that comes with that. And, again, I don't want for much. So things have worked out okay. I mean, a lot of times along the way, of course, I've gotten very depressed and miserable and thought, oh, God, what have I done? And why have I made these choices? But I remember, when I was 40 years old and still with my ex, she had this Mount Everest themed birthday party for me. I love Mount Everest. I've always been fascinated with different things like music and cars and Mount Everest and outer space. Anyway, so we had like a dead climber in the backyard, and we stuffed like the snowsuit with a bunch of newspaper, and we put a tent back there, and we watched Mount Everest themed movies. And I remember I was 40 years old, and I decided I was going to sleep in the tent that night after we had that party, and I was laying out there thinking about my life, and I thought, you know what, whatever things have happened in my life, and whatever, challenges I've faced, and whatever I've thought about, my status in this world compared to others and what they've done or whatever, like, it doesn't really matter. I made it to 40. I'm still okay. I'm still here. I'm just going to keep on going on with my life, and it's going to be all right. I just had someone tell me the other day, she saw this, like a Chinese herbalist or something or other, and she said, oh, I got to get to work or this or that or whatever. And he said, it has already been determined how much money that you're going to make in this life. It doesn't matter what you do or don't do or whatever. It's already been determined. So maybe that's the case. Maybe that, you get worked up over a lot of stuff and it all adds up to be nothing. And, if you're doing something and you enjoy doing it, great, keep doing it. And if you're not, well, go ahead and look for something else, that you might enjoy better. I don't know. That's about all the wisdom I have to impart to you today. I've got to get to my job. And anyway, thanks for, if you've watched other videos on my channel, hanging in there. I've had this channel for many, many years. Took a long time to get to the point where enough people watched it that they actually started paying me for it, and I make very little off of this channel, maybe 50 cents a day, but I do enjoy creating content and just trying to come up with ideas for different videos, different things I can put up here. I am much less active than I used to be at it. It was fun for a while, and then it just becomes a chore or whatever, but who knows? Maybe I'll get motivated to do something else if the mood strikes me. Anyway, thanks again for watching and listening, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on life and all these topics in general, these, big picture topics, We all think about them from time to time, but at the end of the day, you gotta go put on your boots and get to work, which is what I gotta do what I gotta do right now. So that's it. That's all I got for you. We'll see you soon.